The rest of the story was lunchtime at Skyline High School, but he didn't sit with the others. He never did. While groups of teenagers laughed, traded sandwiches, and complained about homework, he quietly took a seat in the farthest corner of the cafeteria. To most, he was invisible. To him, invisibility was a shield. At school, Peter seemed like just another awkward kid in the background, skinny, soft-spoken, unsure of himself. If you asked his classmates, they might vaguely recall his dark, slightly unkempt hair, or the way he avoided eye contact. But ask Peter about himself back then, and he'd tell you one word: lost. It wasn't that Peter was unfriendly. He just didn't know how to be himself around people. He dreaded conversations, not because he disliked others, but because he thought they wouldn't understand him, or worse, mock him. One day his English teacher, Mr. Gardner, changed everything. It started with an assignment to recite a monologue from Hamlet in front of the class. To Peter, this was worse than any math test or pop quiz. Public speaking, he could barely manage a sentence when called on for attendance. For the morning of his performance, Peter stood frozen behind the curtain of the school's small auditorium, clutching a wrinkled copy of Shakespeare's text. His classmates, restless and half-interested, murmured in their seats. "You'll do fine," Mr. Gardner whispered, sensing Peter's terror. Peter hesitated, but something in his teacher's voice steadied him. He stepped out under the dim stage lights, heart pounding, and began, "To be or not to be, that is the question." At first his voice trembled, but with each line, something shifted. The words weren't his, they belonged to Hamlet, and that separation was a gift. For the first time, Peter felt free. He wasn't shy, awkward Peter anymore. He was someone else. When he finished, there was silence. Then, a smattering of applause. It wasn't thunderous, but it was enough. Peter walked off stage, heart still racing, but now for a different reason. "Peter," Mr. Gardner said, grinning, "you have a gift." The words stuck with him. Peter became Peter's refuge. He auditioned for every school play after that, surprising even himself. In the sanctuary of the stage, his shyness melted away. He could be brave, funny, even romantic, things he never dared to be in real life. One day, during rehearsals for our town, a fellow cast member named Sarah asked, "Why do you always seem so confident up there, but so quiet off stage?" Peter thought for a moment. "Because when I'm on stage, I know exactly what to say. Someone else has already written the words." Sarah smiled. "Maybe one day you won't need someone else's words." Years passed, and Peter left high school behind. He pursued theater in college, where his once meager confidence grew. The boy who once dreaded the cafeteria now walked into rooms with an easy charm, though he never forgot how it felt to be invisible. But life wasn't always kind. For every role he landed, there were 10 rejections. For every applause, a moment of doubt. Yet, Peter persisted. He knew the magic of becoming someone else, even if for a while. Decades later, Peter, who by then had adopted a name more familiar to the world, stood on stage once more. But this time, it wasn't as Hamlet or a character from our town. It was as himself, holding a golden statue in his hand. His voice, steady and warm, echoed through the auditorium. To anyone out there who feels invisible, awkward, or out of place, remember, you're not alone. I used to be that kid, and if I can find my way, so can you. The audience rose to its feet in thunderous applause. And in that moment, the boy who once sat alone in the cafeteria was anything but invisible. And now you know the rest of the story. The boy they called Peter
was actually Tom Hanks.